Hello, selectors, and welcome to the Life Burst Podcast. We're going to go over the new centers for this upcoming set, La Storage. I don't know if it's pronounced La Storage is what I've been saying, but if it's pronounced some like more Frenchy way, let me know in the comments below. um, I won't know until the series is over, anyways. So you'll hear me say Lost Storage many times. But we're talking about Mahomaho, and the new deck list. We actually built this one on a series of videos called Deck Building 101. If you want to watch that, feel free to check it out. This is just going to be mostly for the YouTube algorithms, for people who are looking and searching for Mahomaho on the YouTubes to pull up this deck list. So this is what we ended up settling on for this deck list. I actually think it's pretty refined. I actually like it a lot. I didn't think I was going to like Mahomaho as much. But I think this is actually pretty solid of a build when you look at it. Now, Akino maybe theoretically could be something else as the assist line here. It could be like, I don't know, like Anj with the Anj level 2 that brings back a black Signy from your trash to your hand. Or it could be something else entirely. But this is what I decided to settle with just because I thought we were going a little bit longer game here. The idea of the deck is to try to go to turn 6 or 7. With the ability, let's just read Mahomaho together. It's auto at beginning of your attack phase. The opponent chooses one of the following for you to perform. Either puts the top 4 cards of their deck into their trash, or you get a target Signy from your trash to your hand. And generally speaking, that's probably going to be guards. So you're going to try to put them in a clincher situation where if they say mill, then you'll have an easier time damaging them out of the game. If they say guard, then you'll be able to go longer game and be able to do more damage to them regardless. So we're trying, that's the idea, right? And then the enter ability is put one Signy from your trash and put it into the field. Generally speaking, that's going to be Exia or Phalaris with this deck. And then the action once a game abilities do the following 3 times. Put the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck into the trash unless they pay 1, or they discard 1 from their hand. The idea is you'll want to do this sometime when the opponent is low on enter, right? Because the enter option is the worst option, but if you have any amount of them discarding cards from their hand and milling either 4 or 8, like this card's very excellent. You just want to do it when you are at the lowest amount of enter. So you're actually going to spend your earlier turns kind of enter depriving them. You're not really going to be going out of your way to hit them as hard on the first turn 1 and turn 2, right? The optimal time to do this is probably around turn 3, when if you do it and they choose to pay for it, like they won't have enter to grow next turn. So that is sort of the optimal time to hit it, right? And we even got some things in here to help allow ourselves to enter deprive a little bit more. Akinos, for example, bounce things to hand, so that's enter deprival. And then clap and float, float gives you extra cards, but clap also is enter deprival because it stops damage, but it doesn't get rid of the Signy. We also have Super Celestia Saber in our Elrig deck to get back more guards, help us get into the later game. The white is going to always bring back Exia, and the black is going to either bring us back a Caesar or a Phalaris or an Animirage, depending on what we need at that time. Even sometimes a Typhon. And then the Machina Guardian Dragon, sorry, that does not show up here on the program. Not sure exactly why, but it's cool. Is just to help us get us a little longer into the long game. Again, I think we'll be recurring so many cards that, like, this is just good tech against Tama as well, and I think Tama has gotten a little stronger than probably what should be there, and that should be punished a little bit. So I think Machina Guardian Dragon's a pretty good one to go for. Outside of that, we have Baphomet and Sui, right? So the Baphomet Sui combo is basically Baphomet mills 3, and then Sui helps you discard 2, which means that you turn on Baphomet for 7, but it also plays nice with this trash theme, right? Getting ourselves milled 5 early into the game allows us to play Caesar very reliably, and then that'll have Assassin to help more of that enter starving ability, where we're still dealing damage, but we're enter starving them by not getting rid of the Signy that's in front of it. And again, that's generally our early game. We're also playing some amount of Yuki Memorias, mostly because of the ability to turn off Signy's abilities till end of turn. We are playing 2 Animirage, 2 Haniol, and what else brings things back? 2 Animirage, 2 Haniols, which brings things back, and then, oh yeah, this is the new card, is brings things back. So we're playing about 7 ways to bring things back from our trash into play, and Yuki's actually a pretty good one. It can turn off Assassin, it can turn off like Lancer, these types of effects, so it helps you be a little bit more versatile. And so it's good as of a 2 of, and again, we're playing that mill, so we're getting stuff into our trash that we can potentially recur as silver bullets. Um, and that's going to be the main focus of our Elrig deck. The rest of the Elrig deck does actually do kind of like a removal, so it helps us get there. Um, these cards are mostly just ways to help us cheat on enter, and then this gives us a little bit more defense, wallish defense. That's a level 2 that can reach up to 5,000 if we do the exceed cost, which we should always be able to do because the only other exceed cost that we're paying is Digger, and that's late game removal. And our main goal is to try to mill the opponent out. That's why we're going to be using Phalaris and Dragon Maid. Dragon Maid is kind of interesting because it allows us to, whenever we mill them out, do more removal. Sometimes it's even on their turn, crazily enough. But yeah, so we want to run some amount of Dragon Maid. It also helps out with just more incidental mill. This deck really likes incidental mill. And that's the main reasoning for it, I think. We are not running any other incidental mill. We were running more incidental mill in the purely white and black version, but I felt like it just there wasn't enough cards to really make that deck tick. So we added blue, and the blue was just to help with a little bit of stability with the Sui's, as well as Brunos, which are discards, and random drains, which are discards. Now, we're not running a huge discard package, right? We're only running 3 here and 2 here, so 5 deck cards in the total, basically, that are discard packages. And the reason why is because our deck is not a discard deck. It's nice because if we can force them to mill 12 here, that would be really, really strong. So we're supplementing the once-a-game ability with some extra discard, but it's not the main focus of the deck. Really, the main focus of the deck is putting out Exias, stalling for as long as you can, letting the mill rack up in this deck to do 1 damage or 2 damage. That is also Enter Denial damage. And then slowly open up lanes with just the recursion value that you have with Mahomaho and Super Celestia Saber bringing cards back to your hand, as well as Life Bursts being able to bring back things to your hand. So this deck is very much an attrition, white-black recursion package mid-range deck. It splashes a blue to go a little slower and to get a little bit more versatile in terms of interaction. But outside of that, that's the main goal of this deck. I actually think this deck's pretty strong. I think it's surprisingly strong. I think we are currently in a meta that pushes longer games naturally. So being in a deck that really works well, has its engine fully up and running in the early game rather than being aggroed out is pretty strong. I wouldn't say this is B tier. I probably would put this C tier though. So I actually think it's a lot stronger than what people are expecting for. There's been a lot of showings in Japan that has shown that mill-focused Elrigs, like center Elrigs, have had a fair amount of success when gently supported in the main deck with a little bit more mill. And this theoretically kind of mimics that. Maybe not as efficiently as the ones in Japan, but I think it could give a lot of decks a run for the money, especially the blue decks that are running rampant right now. So if you like this, go ahead and comment down below. We will be doing more of these centers, so you just wait and see. And as always, I hope you flip a Life Burst.